Comrades, countless times throughout history, America has defended nations against oppressive attacks. The brave men and women sitting in this room today understand what it takes to defend freedom and democracy, a commitment that was called upon from afar a quarter of a century ago. After Iraqi forces invaded Kuwait in 1990, over 500,000 of America's finest bravely fought to expel one of the largest military forces in the world, and in doing so liberated a nation from extreme violence, occupation, and tyranny. Once the dust settled, more than 300 brave men and women died as a result of that commitment to freedom and to democracy. This year we honored the 25th anniversary of the Desert Storm conflict, and yet no national memorial stands in honor of the servicemen and women who served and those who paid the ultimate price. A major facet of our mission as an organization is to ensure that those who have gone before us in war are remembered and honored properly. VFW members spoke loud and clear in support of a memorial several years ago as the 25th anniversary crept closer. Passing the Operation Desert Shield, Desert Storm Memorial Resolution allowed the VFW to endorse and to voice our strong support of the National Desert Storm Veterans War Memorial and the mission to build a lasting tribute to the bravery, the achievement, the commitment, and the sacrifice of all Desert Storm veterans. Last November, in anticipation of the 25th anniversary, we kept our word of support when we presented the National Desert Storm War Memorial Association a check for $100,000 towards the construction of the memorial, which will reside in the National Mall in Washington, D.C. That donation marked the first payment of the VFW's $500,000 pledge to help build the memorial, and made the VFW the first major veteran service organization to financially back the project. Our hope is that the memorial will make sure that the memory, the commitment, and the sacrifice endures for generations to come. And we know this memorial will do just that and much, much more. Here today to talk about the memorial is the CEO and President of the National Desert Storm Veterans War Memorial Board of Directors and a VFW Life member. Please welcome Comrade Scott Stump.
Good afternoon, Chief, officers, comrades, and sisters. It's always a distinct honor and privilege to be able to be here and speak with you today. Before I get started, I wanted to just ask a big favor. Can a representative, either the state commander or a representative from Tennessee, Texas, and Pennsylvania, please make your way to the front? I'm going to have you up here just in a moment to recognize you, but I don't want you to have to sprint from the back. So if you could just come up toward the front, that would be great. And I'm not sure if we're going to be doing a PowerPoint, but I wanted to update you on this project and to remind you that this effort started about 6 years ago. We're in our 6th year. 2 years ago, we had a bill that was signed into law that authorizes the construction of the memorial. We've had a lot of forward momentum and progress since then, and we are in the middle of the site selection process at this juncture. And we have narrowed it down to 2 distinct locations. I'm just a little disappointed because I had some visuals for you. But the 2 locations are, one of those is, oh, it is? Oh, I see, okay. Gotcha. Perfect, thank you. I'm usually not real good at this. I'm gonna run through these first slides pretty quickly and then get to the sites so that you all know what I'm talking about. There's Storm and Norman, we all remember him. And just to recap what Mr. Duffy was talking about, we had over 600,000 who deployed in theater, 383 that made the ultimate sacrifice. This is about all of those folks. This is a caption that talks about our board. We are a 501c3 made up of entirely volunteers. There isn't anybody on our staff that gets a dime, so it's all volunteer folks. They're all veterans that are serving this cause. And this caption here, I want to just draw your attention to. There's a picture here. That was from the National Memorial Day Parade in Washington, where we had the largest assembly of Desert Storm veterans in 25 years. 500 of them marched down Constitution Avenue. It was quite a sight. This is just a little bit more about the war. I'll go through this. This is the visual that a lot of people have seen. This is the rendering that we have had for quite a while. And this was something that was painstakingly has come about. This is something that we elicited feedback over a prolonged period of time, at least 4 or 5 months, from veterans and their families to come up with the most memorable aspects of Operation Desert Storm. And of course, the left hook military maneuver is the most visual, along with the coalition was also a big part. Just another vantage point. And then this shows you the 24-step process. I was educated and learned that in order to do a commemorative work in Washington, D.C., there are 24 steps that you have to go to make that happen. Can anybody tell me why there are 24 steps? It's so that people don't build memorials. Just kidding. It is very difficult, I will assure you that. This is Site 1. I just want to draw your attention to this. There are some very symbolic reasons why this is our preferred site. This is actually adjacent, if everybody is familiar with where the Vietnam Education Center site is going to be. It's adjacent across 23rd Street from that, right in the shadows of the Lincoln Memorial. We feel that it's very important that we are in this area because it's walkable, but also because of that connection to Vietnam. And I always like to recognize that fact that we have you have a lot of connections to Vietnam. A lot of people sometimes will say, well, Scott, Desert Storm was such a resounding and rapid success because the Iraqis were so bad. And I'm quick to point out, have you ever heard of ISIS? They were not that bad. We are that good, and we are that good because our leaders were all Vietnam veterans. They were not going to let what happened the first time happen to us, and I really give them all the credit for that. We also feel very strongly that, as our design chair always says, where else does a war memorial belong other than among other war memorials? And we think that that tells that story. And with the Vietnam connection, as I said, our leaders, many of them, most of them were Vietnam veterans. It was also a turning point in our country's history. And I'm absolutely convinced that if it were not for Operation Desert Storm, I don't think our men and women, many of you in the audience who've been serving since 2001, I don't think that you would be treated with a level of dignity and respect if we didn't heal those wounds and our country realized what a mistake it was to have treated many of our Vietnam veterans the way that they were. And I hope that none of you in this room had to endure that. I can't even imagine. But Desert Storm definitely was a point of healing. So this is our Site 1. Site 2 is on the other side, on the Arlington side, and don't get me wrong, folks, Arlington is a wonderful place, beautiful, but we just feel that it does belong with those other war memorials, and that the walkability factor is very, very important. But this is Site number 2, the backup site, on either side of a memorial circle, if you all are familiar with that. And lastly, what the current estimate at this point is, and of course we'll know more once we have the actual site narrowed down, which we hope to by the end of the year, is around $25 million. That's all of the costs included, not just the hard construction cost. And as mentioned, it is all through 100% private funding. And I want to leave our contact information up here for any of those that you want to reach us. We're available on all the social media, Facebook, Twitter. Also have a website where folks can donate or contact us directly through the website at www.ndswm.org. And I wanted to take a moment real quickly, Marlene, if you don't mind. I want to recognize some folks that have been very, very staunch supporters of ours. And one thing that Secretary Clinton said that I will absolutely agree with is if it was not for the VFW, really all of our memorials, they would not be in Washington right now. And I can tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt, I know this, we all know this, and we're very grateful. The Desert Storm Memorial would not happen, and nor would it be in Washington, D.C. if it were not for the VFW. So I want to first and foremost want to recognize somebody from the Department of Pennsylvania, please. Oh, they're all behind me. Oh, wow, okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Commander.
Thank you, sir.
The Department of Pennsylvania donated $1,500 at their state convention a few weeks ago. Thank you so much for your generosity. Texas.
Thank you, sir. So much for your generosity.
Yeah,
I accept this gratefully.
Absolutely.
Texas.
Thank you, sir. Texas donated $5,000 to the Desert Storm Memorial. And Tennessee. Tennessee donated $8,000 to the National Desert Storm War Memorial. And last but not least, I want to recognize the VFW National Organization. For without your help, I would not be here and we would not be talking about a memorial at all. And I want to, with all humbleness and sincerity, thank you for this $500,000 pledge, of which we've received the first $100,000 installment.
Scott, on behalf of Commander Bajetson, I accept that. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it.
In closing, I just want to reach out to you, and I want to just tell you that I'm very proud to say that I've been a member of the VFW family for the last 24 consecutive years. And when you get in a bind and when you need help, who's the first that you turn to? You have to turn to your family, right? I want to directly appeal to those 50 departments that have not joined us as of yet. And I want to ask you to consider helping us. We have a pretty stout financial hill that we need to climb in the next 60 days. We've got to raise about between $800,000 and $1 million for this site selection and engineering process that we're going through. This is a very serious time in our juncture, and we need your help now. And I just want you to seriously consider being a part of this and joining with us. And as you consider that, I just want you to just think back to those folks that deployed back 25 years ago, almost 26 years ago. I want you to ask yourself two things. Those 600,000 plus that served, that were willing to serve, is that service and sacrifice any less important than any sacrifice or service that was before them or after them? And the second thing is, what about these 383 folks that never got to live a full life, that made that ultimate sacrifice, that supreme and ultimate sacrifice? Are their lives any less important, precious, or worthy of commemoration than anyone that came before or came after them? And if the answer to those questions you come up with is yes, then I'd like to invite you to work with us now. This is a time, this is a place. I'm asking you with all sincerity to please help us get this done and cross the finish line. Thank you so much, everyone. God bless you. God bless the VFW.